Welcome to Token Students, the ultimate podcast you should listen to in order to deeply understand Asian culture and history. Nice to meet y'all. I'm your host, Dana Kim. Today is September 4th, and this episode is our very first episode about why Asians are so smart, or at least are known to be smart. Find out about the hidden story behind everything by listening to this episode.
Okay, should we start with a self-introduction?
Yeah, I think we probably should. Hi, I'm Dana, who is both the founder of this podcast and a high schooler in South Korea who is academically interested in international relations, U.S. politics, and global economics. And as you can infer from the fact that I made this podcast, I obviously love talking about pretty much anything. Here are some miscellaneous details about me. My guilty pleasure is researching fashion trends during class and not paying attention. And my pet peeve is to have too much mayo on my sandwich, which is very random. I love TV series too, so call me up whenever you just need to talk about Gilmore Girls or Never Have I Ever. Through this podcast, I want to delve into Asians, particularly about the culture and history and fads in South Korea. Stay tuned.
Hello, my name is Santino. I'm also a typical high schooler in Korea. I really like law and philosophy and talking about it. Don't get bored already. I say strange and random things about it all the time. And you'll find it funny if you enjoy that kind of stuff. I love fooling around and talking with my friends, which is the reason I joined my friends on this podcast. I just love to hang around with people in general, so contact me when we set up our community.
Hi! This is Olivia, and I'm so excited to be here and also very nervous. It's my first time being in a studio and everything. It's so weird. I have so many fun things to talk about, and I hope I get to share everything with you. Ever since I was little, I've lived back and forth between the U.S. and Korea, so I have many unique experiences that I've always wanted to share with a larger audience. Besides this fact, I'm pretty much like any other average high schooler here in Korea. Aside from being kind of addicted to games, if you're in the same class as me, you'll just see me playing games all day during class and not listen.
She's playing Tetris all the time.
Oh my god, Tetris was one of my favorites. I play Clash of Clans now. What is it? Cooking Madness, etc. Google Doodle games. Okay. And because of this, I never study, but I do like looking up things that I'm interested about. So many random things. I love science. I love history. So see you soon.
Oh yeah, pleasure to meet all of you. I'm just a typical high school dude from South Korea. My name is Jun Sung-moon, and actually, like Olivia, this is my first time in the studio, and we have all these technological things around our heads, and it's very, very fascinating. And well, I like to talk, and when I talk a lot, I mean I like to talk a lot. I like to talk about subjects ranging from economics, international relations, and politics to nonsense gibberish. I have much interest in various fields, so I'm hoping to have some productive and fun discussion with many individuals about literally anything. See you guys in the podcast, and Santino, just call me up or email me if you have any other things to ask about or any other things to talk about. Well, also for disclaimer, my English name and my Instagram name is also Nathan Moon, so just follow me on Instagram if you guys want to. Peace.
Okay, peace out, y'all. Now that we're done with our self-introduction, let's listen to our story for today. Dear Token Students, I took the SAT a few days ago and it was mind-bogglingly hard. But my Asian friend said that it was easy and she actually got a very high score. By that, I noticed that there is a stereotype that Asians are generally smarter than others. Is this true?
Hey. So I also took my SAT a few days ago. I actually took it on August 27th, which is not even a week ago, I think. And I'm getting my results on September 9th, which is 3 days from now, and I'm so scared. But and there are these Asian kids that are always better than you. Unfortunately, I'm not one of them personally. I'm that kid that gets compared to the other Asian kids. But, so let's just start with the fundamentals first. We need to get this right. Are Asians really smarter than other races? This may sound kind of racist, but there is that stereotype, right? To answer this question, we need to begin with another question. What exactly is being smart? I mean, being smart is such an abstract like a concept with so many different definitions.
Yeah, right. Right, exactly. Now, this is a very interesting topic, like for sure. Like because rather I've seen some like different interpretations of being smart like throughout my life, and definitely I do not, I'm not included in all of them. Maybe according to my own self-analysis, although I am on the relatively young side, I guess. Well, according to the dictionary, the fundamental definition of smart is to possess quick-witted intelligence and thinking. Well, however, the other definition of smart, which is actually used to refer to machines, defines smart as possessing the ability to analyze data and like think independently. Now, before moving on to being like all philosophical and like Socrates, like Olivia, why do you think Asians are usually perceived as smart compared to like other peoples or races?
Well, I feel like one thing is that statistically, Asians do have like average higher IQ. And IQ, by the way, is one of the most common ways to measure intelligence. It's short for the intelligence quotient, and a lot of you probably already know about it. Like I just said, statistics do in fact say that Asians have higher IQ on average compared to other races. However, something to note that IQ is not at all entirely decided through heredity. IQ is affected by pretty much everything, like nutrition, the parent's socio-economical status, environment, like your motivation to take the test, and much more. IQ is also definitely not the representation of intelligence as a whole. For example, it fails to measure factors like creativity or social intelligence, both are which pretty large parts of our lives, and also a large part of what people consider when they talk about who's smart and who's not. Genetics also do play a part, but the effect of the smart genes is small, according to a 2014 study I looked up. This study was conducted on more than like 100K people, and they found like 3 genes, but their effects are pretty insignificant. IQ can also be trained through brain training activities, those exercises that your teachers give you in like the mornings and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Those will also help in getting your IQ up. And this will increase more and more with studying. I feel like it's pretty safe to say that Asians do not necessarily have smarter genes, but the culture that puts so much emphasis on studying allows them to get higher scores on these tests.
Well, like that was an intriguing analysis, Phil, with quite a lot of statistics.
Yeah, I also feel like Asians, like Easterners and Westerners, perceive being smart differently according to their cultures. A lot of times, Asian parents will focus their kids on like natural sciences and math.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know, right? This is why you see so many Asians being trained in math from an early age. There are always those math whizzes or like those tiny little geniuses who are like 10 years old and still like in like college or something for math. You'll definitely see less Asians who've achieved that level of success in other fields like politics, economics, literature, political activism, stuff like that. Western cultures try to bring out like the social part of their kids.
Mm-hmm.
Another difference is that Asians will a lot of times prioritize speed and mental agility, while other cultures may value problem-solving skills and independent thinking. I feel like this is also reflected in curriculums of cultures as well.
Yeah, I mean, like, right, exactly. Like, we are, like, the living evidence of, like, that curriculum, right? So, like, referring back to the dictionary definition of smart I, like, mentioned earlier, I talked about 2 definitions of smart, each one for respectively, like, man and machine, right? But if you look at it again, the ability to quickly process information and having quick wits has a relatively similar meaning with the Asian definition of smart. While the ability to process something independently is more in line with the Western definition of smart, like being all independent and, being all like yourself, right? Rather than being like in a system or in a curriculum. Well, I believe like aside from genetics, which is a very convincing theory, by the way, too, because of the statistics, but educational curriculums are at the root of everything. So all of you guys here are Asians, we're all Koreans, so you guys will know that the Eastern Asian curriculums are basically like hard. It's like difficult, So they tend to tend to rigorously train kids to like solve math problems, as you said, like math, physics, and all those like hard stuff from a very young age.
Right, natural sciences.
Yeah, I mean that's tough. I mean, I love paleontology, but like physics, like chemistry, it's not my type, dude. No.
I'm actually more of a natural sciences girl. I don't know if it's the Asian
Yeah,
genes
I mean,
kicking in, but
Is paleontology a natural science?
paleontology, I would say that's more like history, right?
That's history. Yeah, like
Or
digging
not.
up bones of dinosaurs. Yeah.
Digging up bones, like not very interested in bones.
Yeah, like okay, so where was I? Oh yeah, to solve like questions that memorize like they memorize everything, which are like derived from a very non-creative and old educational system.
I feel
Like-
like memorizing things is huge in Eastern Asian like curriculums. Memorize everything.
I mean, like it's so dumb. Like our like midterm tests are coming up like in a month or so,
Oh,
and we have to
no,
memorize
don't
like.
talk about the midterms.
Jeez,
They're
come on.
still a month away. Nathan,
Yeah, I mean,
please.
and also like, did you guys
Seriously.
know that the Korean educational system hasn't been like changed significantly like since the 1980s?
Yeah,
Like,
there's like a standard form of Korean
Yeah,
education.
I know,
And
and
if you go to the US, you can like pick subjects that
Yeah.
you're interested in, but in Korea, you just have to follow this like rigid system
Right,
that never
right.
changes.
And also, like, you know how I said that I've lived in both the U.S. and Korea?
uh-huh.
Having experienced both these cultures and both the curriculums, I would definitely say that, like, our Korean schools put so much more emphasis on memorization. Like, for example, in my Korean literature test that I took, in order to be able to solve like the free response questions, I
Yeah.
had to memorize like
Everything.
memorize my notes. But the thing is, in the U.S., you can definitely like put your own thought into the
Yeah.
answers that you put into the free response, and you'll still get like good scores.
Yeah. And then like Asian tests, like when you say analysis, it doesn't actually mean analysis.
Yeah, you don't
Like-
analyze it on yourself. Your teachers analyze
also,
it
like,
the
for you,
test
and you
forms.
memorize it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like for example, history. If you go to the U.S., you write an essay on the historical
Right.
topic or something. But in
Right.
Korea, you have to memorize like every timeline, which is
Mhm.
like not very,
Yeah.
Yeah.
lenient. Or
Yeah, and like you have to memorize all these little
It's like-
details.
Yeah, like it's not enthusiastic at all, right? And it doesn't have like much like effectiveness here. And like this like literally like because of like these curriculums, like kids literally become problem-solving machines, right? And the Asian education, especially in Korea, is like obsessed with speed, as you have mentioned, and it has like notoriously difficult education and exams, like suning in Korea. That's like the Korean SAT, and it is like very very hard. It's very famous for being hard, especially math and English, but Korean students like and Asian students delve into hard, arduous study for 12 plus years since like they are like elementary school.
Right, definitely.
Yeah.
I'd say that people here study for the student for like all their lives.
Yeah,
Like, from-
like since they're like 7 or something.
Yeah, since they like go into school from that moment, like you're studying for the student.
Yeah, oh, come on. And however, like Western curriculums, in contrary, like they like students actually think their problems through, and like they don't push their students like so hard like since young ages. And the most evident difference is in how each like curriculums approach like the subject math. In my opinion, it's like because I personally hate math. Like Asian curriculums focus on memorizing every single principle and just like solving problem after problem after problem, but like they're focused on speed and accuracy, right? On the contrary, Western curriculums, the students actually use calculators. Now that was a very
Yeah.
surprising fact for me.
Really?
Yeah.
It was surprising for me that they don't let you use calculators here. Like, what if I get like a something like a multiplication thing wrong, and I get the problem right, but wrong.
Yeah.
But I got like the process right. I
Yeah.
think the process is what they put
Yeah.
emphasis in
I mean, like
Western.
even though your like logical process is right, like if you get like a simple like equation wrong,
Yeah.
then that whole question is like just like gone.
I know, right?
Yeah, so like they believe in the Western culture and curriculums, like they believe the ability to think about and the ability of like critical thinking and problem solving, like it's the right way of approaching math and education, right? So this actually applies like less pressure, especially to the students, on like comparatively, which while it enhances the critical thinking ability of the students also, which I think is a more valuable like value than just like memorizing everything.
Right, I guess it's like the difference of what you put emphasis on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, as I will like say earlier, it later shows benefit. I mean, like I'll talk about it later. It shows benefits in later stages of life, which is like the most significant part of all. Like moving on to, so this is where I move on to the exposing of the irony behind like Asian curriculums and culture, which is I would say the idiocy behind intelligence. Now, what does this mean? So like Asian students tend to like just memorize everything, right? As we have like discussed about, and this brings out the lack of creativity. They memorize everything from such a young age, right? So if Asians are so smart, then why doesn't like Korea have any Nobel Math Prize winners? If literally everyone in the nation are solving like huge mathematical problems, huh? So like even foreign math teachers and professors have a hard time solving the high difficulty problems from the Korean SATs. Like just
Right.
search it up and on YouTube. There are like billions of videos
Yeah,
there.
I've seen those videos, and I have to admit, like I feel like after getting past a certain point in math, like if people are like super good at math and they get like everything right on this thing, like they'll just go to medical school and be
Yeah.
done with it. No
Yeah.
one will go to like
Yeah.
no one will go on to be math majors. I
Mhm.
think this is also a huge problem. Maybe we'll talk
Yeah.
about this in later.
I mean, like, yeah, Korean high schoolers, while like those professors are all like having a hard time, they just like solve them and get them right, you know, like in the blink of an eye. Like, wait, what does this equation mean? Like, oh, like just like in that kind of like a fraction of a second, they can like solve those questions. But my doubt is that, like, is that really their own intelligence and their own critical thinking? Definitely not.
Definitely not. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
That's what I meant.
Definitely not, right? And like the same problem occurs with English as well. And this is what like, can I say this word? But this kind of like pisses me off because when you learn English like rigorously, especially Korean and Asian students, like going through like multiple academies from a young age, like many of the students in Korea now do, like how many of them actually can they actually like freely talk in English like we are like doing right now?
Definitely. Like I feel like I would say that I'm fluent in English, but I was so stumped when I first like looked at the swimming problems. Like they were so difficult, and like I'm fluent in English and I can't solve a single problem. The Korean people must be so good at English.
Scratch on your ego.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know, right?
Yeah.
And then I tried talking to someone
Yeah,
in
and the thing,
English,
like-
and they were like they went silent.
Yeah, and the thing like, I didn't understand was when you're like explaining English and grammar, like, why do you use like numeric symbols and mathematical symbols when you're explaining when you're explaining linguistics? That's just like nonsense, bro. I mean, and also like they go through like difficult tests, especially as I mentioned earlier, like including the Korean SAT, which is also like very notorious for their English tests as well. So for example, and they can't even read properly, right? You know, maybe readings from TOEFL or like literature or books,
Right.
and they don't actually understand the content like 100%.
Yeah,
I have
it's
like high
more-
doubts.
Yeah, it's more like they extract certain parts from this piece of
Yeah.
literature in order to be able to solve the problems. They don't really care about what's inside of those words.
Yeah,
what
like they just like break
mean.
them down word by word and like grammar, meaning, main idea, right? There's
Right.
like no creativity, like no thinking there, right? So, well, interviews and sources, which I talked about, like YouTube videos, such as indicate like they can't because in YouTube like there are like videos where you interview Korean high schoolers or university students in the streets like in English and they just like run away.
Yeah.
Which is like I was so like disappointed by that because
Mm.
they would have also like invested all those years in academics, especially like studying
Yeah,
that kind of
definitely.
like rigorous English.
And if you
English.
study English and you can't speak it, like what's the point? What's the
yeah.
point? Like the point I feel like of learning English as a foreign language is in order to be able to communicate with other English
Yeah.
speakers and other people around the world. But if you can't communicate and all you've trained all your life is just to break
English.
down a piece of
English
literature.
is also a language. It's not only academics, right?
Right.
So the basic foundation of a language is to have basic communication skills first, which include obviously listening, reading, speaking, and writing. And then when those are set to a certain level, you then go on to linguistics and academics.
Right. They
That should not be the
skip
other way
that
around.
important step in learning a language. And
Yeah.
I feel like that does more harm.
Yeah, so
than
like you can
good.
see like these problems are prevalent like already in math and English, and they're like so contrary between like the Eastern and Western curriculums and cultures. So that's why I say this is an irony, like an idiocy behind intelligence. Like yet they put so much effort into education, and they look so smart from the outside,
Yeah,
right? Because
they
they're
look
like
so
memorizing
smart,
all these
yeah.
like equations.
Yeah.
Like, but however, like once you see past that, it's just like meh. It's just
Right.
like kind of like lame.
Their
you know?
knowledge doesn't really go deeper
Yeah, it doesn't
than
like
what
stretch.
they learned to take this one.
Yeah. So exactly.
This was the part 1 of our first episode about what being smart actually means and what genetics has to do with it, and also revealing the Asian and Western way of being smart. And also, there was a comparison between education curriculums, and Nathan and Olivia did an excellent job exposing the irony and idiocy behind intelligence in Asian countries. We will come back for part 2, which is about the Confucius and Mencius ideology that is ingrained in our society that is related to Asian intelligence, and also about the model minority myth and cultural differences. Thank you.